Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to discuss on Vagrant. We are going to cover what is Vagrant, why do we need Vagrant, installation of Vagrant, and some important commands of Vagrant. And we are going to see how to create a Vagrant network and share folders. So Vagrant is a tool which helps us to build a complete environment. So for example, if you need 4 virtual machines and in the automated way, Vagrant is a good option. But Vagrant is used mostly in the development environment, not in the production. Because production environment, we have enterprise tools which help us to do the same. But Vagrant is very handy if you want to develop a 4 virtual machine and inside that 4 different application, Vagrant can do that. So what basically Vagrant is? Vagrant help us to define the infrastructure as a code. Let's say example, I need a 2 virtual machine with 5 GB of RAM and 2 core CPUs. It's possible, yes. We can write this code in the Vagrant file, and after that, Vagrant can do the job creating a machine without any human intervention. And the interesting thing about the Vagrant is Vagrant have its own cloud, and from where we can get the ready-made images. So we do not need a time to install the operating system. We do not need it because the operating system pre-installed images are available on the Vagrant cloud. So let's say example, we need CentOS 7, Ubuntu, or any image with installed software like Apache. This kind of all images are available on the Vagrant cloud. We can download and start using it. So Vagrant allow us to do the multiple things like installing the operating system of our choice, modifying the RAM, CPU. We can work on the network interface by using the Vagrant. We need a IP, we can define it. We need the NATing, we can define it. Everything we can do in the Vagrant. Vagrant allow us to set up a share folder. What it means? For example, I am running Windows, and top of that I have the virtual box. In virtual box, I need 2 virtual machines. So between 2 virtual machines and my Windows machine, we can share a folder between them. So that will be help to take the data from Windows to Linux or Linux to Windows. So that is all possible using the Vagrant. Now, one thing is very important to understand. Vagrant is not virtualization software like VirtualBox. It allows us to automate the virtualization. It is not an virtual software like VirtualBox. What it means? It means we need some virtualization software. Vagrant not have that capability to provide the virtualization. Either we need KVM, or we need VirtualBox, or we need Hyper-V. Any kind of virtualization we need, Vagrant will allow us to automate the process. All right. So we'll see that how basically it works. We can set up the host key. That means their public key. We can copy it so they can log in without any passwords. So this all we can do with the Vagrant. Another important thing is that we can run the number of command in the Vagrant. What it means? It means, for example, my OS boot, I need 10 packages need to be installed at the time of first installation. So it will do that. Let's say example, I have installed CentOS and I need Apache need to be installed in that. So I will write in the same file. It will create a CentOS, and after that it will install the number of packages we had defined in the Vagrant file. That is all possible with the help of Vagrant. Now, Vagrant need virtualization software, so we can download the virtualization software from www.virtualbox.org/wiki/downloads. From here we can download. And to download the Vagrant software, we can download from the link www.vagrantup.com/downloads.html. And we need a git bash. Git bash, why? Because its GUI is good to work as compared to the CMD. So it's optional. If you do not need, you can work from the CMD, that is command prompt of the Windows, or putty session or terminal from the Linux. Another important thing is Vagrant is multi-platform. So if you want to download on the Linux box, possible, there is a downloads available on the same page. If you want to download on the Windows box, no problem, we can do that. So it's a multi-platform, so all the different softwares are available for the respective platforms on the same page. And VirtualBox is also multi-platform, so you can download on the Linux also, you can get the download for the Windows also. So this is how looks like the installation part. So we have to click on the exe. If you are working on the Windows machine, we have to click on next, and after that finish, and here it get installed. To install the Vagrant is also very simple. We have to follow the wizard. We have to say next, finish. So it get installed, and same way we can install the git bash. So the all three, when we install, we can open the git bash and we can run the command vagrant.exe hyphen version. So we'll get the version. All right, and after that we can start working on the Vagrant. So once the Vagrant is installed, we can start working on it. And here is a few terminology like Vagrant base box. So base box is a virtual machine packed into the single file, so that we called as a base box. All right, so basically it's called as a template. So when we do the lab, we'll see the how the template is look like. Vagrant box is an instance of virtual box VM. So any virtual machine is running, we called as a Vagrant box. So either it can be running on the virtual Oracle virtual box, or it can be running on the KVM or Hyper-V. We called as a Vagrant box. Provision means configuration steps, so that we called as a provisioning. Vagrant file is very important. This file having all the code. So we talk about infrastructure as a code. So where we write that infrastructure as a code. So the Vagrant file is a file where we write the infrastructure as a code. So all the code, like what operating system we want, how much RAM we want, how much CPU we want, what number of packages we have to install in that operating system, everything we can define in the Vagrant file. So our next goal will be, in the next video we'll see how to write the Vagrant file and how to use it. So this is a common example. For example, if you want to install the Ubuntu, so what code we have to write in the Vagrant file. So here, if you look at, we have written the 3 line of code to deploy the Vagrant, to deploy the Ubuntu machine. So vagrant.config, we can write configure or we can write config, that will work. 2 is a version. So on which version we are working. So 2, after that do variable, any variable you can take. So this is a variable name. It's not mandatory we have to take config. You can define your own variable. So variable definition is done. Then after that you are saying variable name dot vm dot box equals to ubuntu slash trusty64. So it will go on the Vagrant cloud, it will download this image for you and install that image for you. So very interesting, 3 line code, you will get the Ubuntu machine. Next, let's say example, I have to forward the port of this virtual machine on my 8080. It's possible, yes. So my guest port is 80, forward to 8080. So whatever the services is running on the port 80 in your guest operating system, that is in Ubuntu, you will get on the Windows machine on the port 8080, if in case if you are running your virtual machine on the Windows operating system. So that means on host machine, you will get all 80 service access on 8080 of the base machine. So it's a port forwarding, not much. For example, I have to define the IP address in the Ubuntu machine. How I can do that? I can do that with the private underscore network. So config -vm -network, private underscore network, and after that IP address. So here I am writing 192.168.300. So this is the IP address of this guest machine, that is Ubuntu Trusty64. How I will share the data between the Windows and the guest machine? Is possible, yes. VM dot synced folder, synced underscore folder. This is my the current folder, that is my the host machine folder, and this is my the Linux machine, that is Windows Ubuntu machine. So this folder gonna share with there. So whatever the data will keep in the data folder, it's accessible in the /vagrant_data on the Ubuntu machine. All right. So source destination easily synced with the command vm.synced_folder. How I can write number of command inside that virtual machine which get created. So my virtual machine get created with a Ubuntu machine, right? After that I have to install 2-3 things, like first I have to update it, second I have to install Apache. So the syntax is config.vm.provision. So this is very important. Dot provision. What we have to provision? We have to write the shell command. So shell, comma, inline, after that syntax, capital shell, and here we have to write number of commands. So keep writing your command here, but make sure here you have given the tab, because this function is inside under provision. So tab, and after that all the command. Let's say example you have to run 10 commands. Write down the one by one 10 command, and after that complete it with capital shell, because here we have started with a shell and we have to complete it with a shell. And end, why we have to write end? Because this we have started here do, and after that here end. So if you have number of do, it will come number of end. So this all we have written in the one do function. So one end is here. So once we run this Vagrant file, we'll go through that how to run the. As of now, we have created a code that will download the Ubuntu machine, that will do the port forwarding of 80 on 8080 of base machine, that will assign the IP to the Ubuntu machine, that will share the folder between the Windows and Linux machine, and that will also run the set of 2 commands on the Ubuntu machine after VM creation. So let's say example, someone want to run this file, but they want 2 machines, maybe server 1 and server 2. Is possible? Yes. We have to write vagrant.config here version do config. This do config will define one variable, and here you are defining one virtual machine. config.vm.define server 1. All right, do server 1. So you are taking another variable server 1.ubuntu. Another variable you are defining here, end is here. So do end, and now you are deploying the another machine. config.vm.define server 2, do server 2, server2.vm box ubuntu trust 64. So what is the difference? So here we have taken the 2 variable. Config is a common variable, both machines are using the same variable config. You can see here config, but this config defining another variable called as server 1, and next in set we are using the same config to define another variable server 2. So from config we have defined the 2 variables server 1 and server 2, and with the help of server 1 we have deployed the Ubuntu trust 64 for the server 1, and with server 2 we have defined the same operating system Ubuntu 64 trust 64 for the server 2. When we run this machine, it will create 2 virtual machines. Operating system remains same, but one is server 1, another is server 2. So if we have requirement of having multiple virtual machines, we can define with the number of variables. So if you need 3, so you can write another set here, config.vm.define server 3 do server 3, and after that server 3.vm box equals to operating system name. So it can be any name, CentOS/7. It will install the CentOS 7. All right. So these all commands we can run on the Vagrant. So Vagrant version to check the version, Vagrant box add to add the new base box, Vagrant box list to list up all the boxes. To remove the box, we have to run the Vagrant box remove. To initialize it, we have to run the Vagrant init. So this is very, very important command, because this command we're gonna run in the next lab. Vagrant up to make sure your machine start with the help of configuration you have kept in the Vagrant file. So this is another important command. To take the SSH of your Vagrant box, Vagrant SSH. Vagrant halt is to stop the running Vagrant box. These all are the important command. Vagrant reload to restart the virtual machine. Suspend to suspend the virtual machine. Resume to again resume back. Vagrant destroy to completely destroy, that means delete everything of the virtual machine. Vagrant global status to display all the configuration status of your Vagrant boxes. Vagrant box update it, check the updated for the Vagrant box. So it will check the updates whether any changes is there. Vagrant box update, check the updates for the Vagrant box. So this all command we're gonna use in our lab. So we have completed theoretical part. In next video we are going to see the practical. Thank you so much.